Hi folks, I'm Dirk Henderson. I'm at Henderson Ranch here in Meriden, Kansas. The purpose of this video is for those of you that have never bought a side of beef before. You were raised buying beef, your parents bought beef off the shelf at the supermarket, and you've never bought a side of beef, and you're somewhat intimidated of the whole process, and you're unsure of what's going on, and so you've always been interested in getting a side of beef, but you're just not comfortable calling and asking a bunch of questions. I get it. So I'm going to try to simplify the process and walk you through the whole process, how it works. And you're going to find it's actually very simple. And typically when somebody buys a side of beef, they're hooked on it and they'll continue to have a freezer full of beef for the rest of their life. Usually, not always. Okay, here's how the process works. We at Henderson Ranch have locker dates scheduled with our local meat lockers. There's 3 of them that we use on a regular basis. There's one in Topeka, one in Meriden, and one in Holton. We have to schedule those locker dates several weeks and even months in advance. So when you buy a side of beef, you can't call today and come pick up a side tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. That's what a lot of people don't realize. We have locker dates scheduled. Today's April 10th, 2020. We have locker dates scheduled through April, all the way through May, and all the way through June. And we're completely booked full April and May, and we're filling up in June right now. So when you are ready to purchase a side of beef, you're not going to get that animal for, it could be even a couple months before it's ready. Okay? So that's the first thing. You can't just call today and come pick up a side tomorrow. Now, when you call, you want to get a side of beef. And first of all, what is a side of beef? A side of beef is an animal carcass that's cut in half, and if you buy a side of beef, you're buying half of an animal, half of a steer. Okay? A quarter would be half of a half, and then a whole beef, we sell a lot of whole beef to people, that's the whole carcass. So, typically, the animals that we finish here at Henderson Ranch are going to weigh about 1,500 pounds when they're ready to go. When we take that steer to the locker, they're going to kill that animal and hang the carcass. They weigh the carcass, and that's how I charge you, is how much that carcass weighs hanging. Now, that includes the bones and everything that's in the carcass. On the steers that we take in, the carcass is going to weigh somewhere in the neighborhood of 900 pounds, 900 to 950 pounds, right in that vicinity. If you buy a whole beef, that's how much product you get, but it's a little bit misleading at this point because that hanging weight includes the bones that's in that animal. So when they further process the animal into retail cuts of beef, you're going to end up with about 65% of the hanging weight in retail cuts of beef. Steaks, ground beef, roasts, briskets, all that stuff, okay? So on an average 1,500 pound animal that I haul into the locker, it's going to hang at roughly 900 pounds. You're going to end up with a whole carcass of approximately 600 pounds of retail cuts of beef. That's about how much you get if you bought a whole animal. If you buy a side of beef, you're going to end up with half of that, roughly 300 pounds. And if you buy a quarter, you're going to end up with approximately 150 pounds of retail cuts of beef. That's the first question people have, is how much meat am I going to end up with? They've never done it. They don't know if it's a stack of meat this high or you only get this much. That gives you a little bit of an idea of how much meat you're going to end up with when you buy a quarter, a half, or a whole beef. So you call us at Henderson Ranch, tell us you want whatever. Most people buy a side, a half beef. That's what the vast majority of people buy. My family of 4 goes through about a whole beef per year, but we eat beef pretty much every day of the week, and most days at least 2 meals a day, and a lot of times 3. We eat more beef than the majority of people, I would say, but that's what we do. We go through about a whole animal per year. A lot of couples, just a husband and wife, they'll typically order a quarter. A lot of them will order a half. But the vast majority of people that order beef from us get a half beef. Okay, so you called us, you told us how much beef you want. So when it comes time for your locker date, I walk through every animal that's ready to go and finished and ready to go, and I pick out the very best one that I can find. And right now, I think we've got 500 and some steers on full feed. So I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna pick the very best one that I can find, and I'm gonna deliver that steer to one of these local lockers. Once I deliver the steer, they're gonna kill the animal, they're gonna hang the carcass, they're gonna weigh it, and they're gonna let me know how much it weighs, and I can call you at that point and let you know how much money you owe me for the beef. You'll pay me directly for the beef at that time. Now the locker is gonna hang the beef in their freezer at the locker for 10 to 14 days. During this time when your beef is hanging, it's aging. You're aging the meat at this point. During that time, I have given the locker your phone number, and they're going to call you and get your cutting instructions, or your cutting order is what it's called. This is the part that's somewhat intimidating for those of you that have never done this before, because you don't know all the cuts of meat that come out of a beef, and you're not comfortable asking questions or whatnot. Fear not. The lockers are used to this, and they know how to explain to you the different parts and pieces and the different cuts and options available. It's very simple, and it's somewhat enjoyable, actually. But some of the questions that they're going to ask you is, how thick do you want us to cut your steaks? How thick are they supposed to cut the steaks? Do you like your steaks this thick? Do you like them this thick? Typically, we'll get ours at about 1 inch, 1 to 1.5 inches. The filet mignons will make it a little bit thicker, but that's just the way we like them. Do you want your hamburger, your ground beef packaged in 1 pound packages or 20 pound packages? Obviously 20 pound would be a lot of hamburger to thaw at one time. For our family of 4, we typically do 2 pound packages, sometimes 5 pound packages. They're going to ask you how many roasts you want. They're going to ask you a lot of different options that you have, and that's part of the beauty of buying a side of beef, is you get to have them cut it the way you want it cut and the way you want to prepare it. Okay? So they'll call you to get your cutting order, and then they let that beef hang for 10 to 14 days in their locker. When it's ready to go, they're going to call you back at that point and tell you your beef is ready to be picked up. You can go pick it up yourself if you'd like, or if you buy from us at Henderson Ranch, I'm happy to go pick it up for you and deliver it right to your house. You'll pay the locker directly at this point for their processing fee. They'll have a processing fee that's a certain amount per pound, and that's when you pay them for your processing fee. So you paid me for the beef when they killed the animal. Now you're going to pay for your processing fee when the beef's ready to be picked up. I hope these answered your questions. For those of you that are first-time buyers, don't be intimidated. Give it a shot. I promise you'll be glad you did. And if I didn't cover all your questions right here in this video, don't hesitate to call, text, or send me a Facebook message. I'm Dirk Henderson. This is Henderson Ranch, and I'm in Meriden, Kansas. Thank you.